r/ask Reddit. Redditors, what's the worst thing you've eaten out of politeness? Was working in China. They had a big celebratory banquet for us. They served a local delicacy, sea worms. It was a white tube that when immersed in near freezing water essentially dissolved into a gelatinous lump. Think fish flavored jello. With just a hint of residual gristle. Ugh. Had to eat several servings while downing shots of mayote. My wife's cooking. When we first got married. I do the cooking now. I think that was her plan all along. My beloved but very elderly gram-in-law made chocolate chip cookies in which she messed up the sugar and salt and mistook the dried black beans in her cupboard for chocolate chips. Oh dear. My grandpa made sushi. With tuna, rhubarb, yellow mustard, seaweed, and undercooked rice. Watched me eat it, make sure I got a taste of each ingredient. The entire time I ate it, I thought this tough bastard made it through the beaches of Normandy. Eat the sushi and smile. An undercooked potato, garlic, feta, chopped meat package in aluminium foil. It was supposed to be a Greek dish. We all got sick. Edit. Thanks for blowing up my inbox. Also props to Euphies98 who started one of the funniest comment trains I've seen in a while. I went to Kenya on a college trip. For the first week we were there, we built a kitchen into a school. Every day my buddy and I would joke about this goat at the school and his bigots nuts were. Well, fast forward and the last day we were there, the school put on a feast. Eating corn, beans and kale, grown at the school, with goat meat. The local elders came by at the end to show their appreciation. My teacher, who was from Kenya, got up and said the elders have prepared a delicacy. It is somewhat of an insult to not eat what they present you. Bam, here came the karma bus. Now I enjoy fried Rocky Mountain oysters. However, what they served was a barely boiled gotch ball. I tore off a sizable chunk like a champ. I will never forget the rubbery texture. Or the ultra gamey taste. But I ate it like I was honored for even being offered. Chitterlings. My husband begged me to try it. It's his favorite dish. I tried a small bite. It tasted like straight shit. Straight fermented shit. I told my friend about my experience and she insisted it just wasn't prepared right and I needed to try hers. I went to her house and saw that she prepares hers with green peppers and onions. I was reluctant but hopeful. I took a bite. It tasted like straight fermented shit with a side of green peppers and onions. I was nice and I took 2 bites but I couldn't stomach anymore. Sea snails with my Vietnamese friend. I paid for it when I tried to pull it out with my teeth instead of using the little toothpick. Since it is in a spiral inside the shell, it snapped out of the shell and sprung forth, bouncing off my face and onto the table, leaving my face covered in fishy smelling, briny seawater. I would have run straight to the bathroom, but I was temporarily brinated. My sister was trying to be nice after I had taken care of her for 3 years while she dealt with her mental health. She tried to make me a pizza. It came out more like charcoal. Like fully all black. She tried so hard to make me happy for once that I had to at least get some of it down. It's not as burnt as it looks. Really yummy. She was really happy with herself after that. One time I volunteered to deliver a prescription after work to this old man cause he lived in the building beside mine. He answers the door with "Oh good, you're here," and ushers me to a table where another reluctant diner appeared to be held hostage as well. He forces us to ingest all of the cold, sweet yellow rice and vile tasting yogurt he could slop on our plates and would not leave us alone until our plates were clean. I tried to use every excuse in the book, but he kept saying in his culture it's rude not to completely finish your plate. etc. He kept saying it was such a delicacy and blah blah, and I appreciate that in his culture it might be. But I kinda felt violated to be forced to eat something. Let alone seeing the giant Tupperware it was scooped out of. Not knowing when the hell it was made and by whom. My grandma boiled chicken in ketchup once. She also had pickled watermelon for a side that day. Not one of my favorite things I've ever eaten. Girlfriend in college wanted to be nice to my roommate and I because she often ate over at our apartment. So she was to cook dinner one night. Teriyaki steak. Somewhere along the line, She got TBSP and cup mixed up and added 3/4 cup of salt. Pretty sure we were nearing the LD50 of salt for a human. But I ate as much as I could and drank as much water as I could for the next few days. The Easter turkey that my mill had cooked at Thanksgiving and placed in the freezer until the night before. Durian my co-worker brought. I was curious, so it wasn't just politeness. But I'd heard it smelled like a sewer but was absolutely delicious. In reality it just smelled pretty bad and tasted pretty bad as well. Every burp brought regret. Lutefisk. Norwegian friend was really excited for me to try it. And I hadn't the heart to just spit it straight back out because holy shit. It's fucking disgusting. Whale blubber. The taste was like how a wet lab smells. In Arequipa, Peru, I drank a blended mixture consisting of molasses, stout beer, raw eggs, some vegetables, and frog skin. Yes, the skin of a frog. It's a symbol for healthy fertility, I guess. And the tour guide insisted we try it. Drunken shrimp. I was living in China and out with the local teachers. They ordered this dish and I was picturing something totally different. What arrived was a bowl of tiny live shrimp in a clear liquid. Turns out the shrimp are put in a bowl of alcohol and drink themselves to death. At which point you eat them. It takes a little while for them to die. I remember one of the ladies lifting the lid and a shrimp tried to jump out. She said not ready yet and put the lid back on. Once all the shrimp were dead, the bowl was passed around like a plate of fries. I didn't want to be rude, so I tried one, but one was enough to last me a lifetime. A very garlicky carbonara. My sister's boyfriend offered to make a carbonara for our family and we accepted as we had heard good things about his cooking from my sister. He bought the pre-chopped garlic that comes in a container where they are separated into portions, kind of in a grid setup of many 1-portion garlic all connected. There's about 30 per pack minimum. Now I am not adverse to garlic, in fact I myself often put in more than the recommended when I cook. But holy shit. This was bad. Turns out he had used all 30 portions of garlic to make a carbonara for 8 people. He had also used a certain kind of mature cheese which gave everything a nasty aftertaste. Overall, we haven't let him cook food for us again, but he doesn't know why. It was supposed to be harkerol, but I actually really enjoyed it. The actual answer was cookie cake made by someone who was getting the idea that cooking doesn't have to be rigid and mathematical. Except they forgot to tell her that that doesn't apply to baking. Natto. Which I'm pretty sure is Japanese for snot beans. https://d2080683mqd60.medium/articles/title_images/000/medium/pixter_497806/2018. Ballot. Look it up. Grandmother was 100% Filipino. One bite, one gag. When my sister was 5, she had my mom, friend and I sit for her tea party. She made us drinks. I asked her what she gave us and she said it was water and sparkle perfume. For a friend of mine it was bananas. He used to come hang out in the morning or stay the night to play games when we were growing up. And he ate breakfast with us a lot. My parents loved having bananas with breakfast on the weekend, and banana pancakes for that matter. So he'd have them all the time. It was probably about 5 years into our friendship before I found out that he absolutely hates bananas and was only eating them to be polite. My aunt's mother effing broccoli casserole that my mom made me take a bite of every Thanksgiving. I don't know how exactly she concocted this thick, pasty casserole that smelled and tasted like a noxious cabbage fart, but my god, I can still think of the taste and gag, and we haven't done Thanksgiving at her place in well over 12 years now. Raw. Ground sheep meat. I could taste the cold, stringy, undissolved fat with every chew and I could barely choke it down. My aunt's garlic bread. She put it in the oven at the same time as the lasagna and by the time it came out, it could have been used as a tank shell. TBH, I'm not sure if I ate it. or just poured enough water to soften it. In the 4th grade, I had a sleepover at my best friend's house. I was excited because her mom was a high power attorney and was going to cook a fancy dinner for us. Her mom was so glamorous. Well, it comes time to dig into the pasta with tomato sauce and well, it wouldn't go down my throat. I'm pretty sure she mixed up the salt with sugar and my 10-year-old bod was not gonna let it go down. I'm pretty sure I really hurt her feelings, but I told her I had eaten right before I was dropped off at their house. I'm 32 and I still remember that taste. My grandmother's chili. My grandmother is a terrible cook. I've gotten food poisoning multiple times from her, but this chili nearly killed me. She made it in her crock pot. I lived with my grandparents, my younger sister and our mom at the time. My mom was out of town. The first night the chili was good. Everything was fine. She made a huge batch so we had it again the next day. It was still okay. A little bit off, but not the worst thing I ever ate. I was so sick that night. Spewing from both ends. The 3rd night the smell was horrible. The chili was popping and effervescence with tiny gas bubbles. I was 9. We had just learned about bacteria in school. I refused to eat more than a bite. It was Pop Rocks mixed with rotten meat. I asked her how she stored the chili. In the crock pot, she said defensively, "It's okay to leave things in there." I even remembered to unplug it. We lived in Georgia. It was the summer. She didn't make chili, she made a science experiment on the kitchen counter. I don't remember the name of it, but they were these white bean looking things about the size of my thumb in a soup. Had the texture of chewing carpet. Actual carpet. Mind you. That's not a euphemism. Anyways. Took me about an hour to finish 3/4 of the bowl. I ended up giving up because I couldn't stop gagging. I felt bad because my friend's grandma made it and I was at their place for dinner. But luckily for me, they were appreciative of the fact that I actually tried to finish it rather than be offended that I didn't like it. I made a point to not be around during dinner hours anymore. Though. My great grandmother once baked the family a pumpkin pie knowing that it's my dad's favorite. She was so excited to share it with everyone. She was old and losing her memory. And she'd accidentally switched the salt and sugar when making this pie. Everyone ate at least a few bites so that she wouldn't be hurt. Mushy. Tuna flavored peanut butter sandwiches and peanut butter flavored tuna sandwiches. Grandmother prepared everything for my grandfather's funeral a couple of days beforehand. Since I don't eat meat, she figured she'd better make some vegetarian finger sandwiches for me. She then stored the tuna and peanut butter together in a sealed container at room temperature and brought them out at the funeral. Also, I was newly pregnant and hadn't announced because of the timing. So I was choking down these sandwiches while having terrible morning sickness. Broccoli and cheese quinoa cookies. A girl I dated was trying to impress me. So she tried to make green curry. She added too much curry paste and we both sat there sweating and crying. Tripe. It was at a wedding. There may have been side bets regarding how much tripe we would eat. My wife and I spent a couple of Thanksgivings in a row with her parents when we were still dating. Her family is all vegetarian. So her mom cooks tofurkey, which isn't the worst by itself. Imagine a really dry pork loin. Just smother it in some gravy and it's edible. But the second year we go back. And she pulls the tofurkey out of the freezer and informs us how excited she is to finally get to finish it off. It was the leftover tofurkey from the previous year. Several years ago, I visited my partner's grandmother in small town Missouri. Part of our visit was going to the grandmother's sister's house in the next town over. They were very kind people. But at lunch, there was jello salad that had white mystery fibers in it. I suspect it was something like cotton wood. Or some other airborne fluff that just happened to get in the gelatin. I quickly realized A. It was harmless. B. It didn't taste like anything. And C. I should just politely pick it out of my mouth when people weren't looking. Meatloaf absolutely loaded with olives, which I can't even stand the smell of. Deer heart sandwich. Ganjang. Honestly, it's a Korean delicacy which is raw crab marinated in soy sauce, marinated in the not cooked something like Peru's ceviche. I've lived half my life outside Korea and don't take too well to raw Korean dishes. But I was visiting a friend and her dad offered me some because it's a hometown delicacy and it is an expensive dish. It was not too bad. I wasn't gagging or anything like that. But I really don't like seafood in general, so wasn't a neat experience. There's also yang nai and jegjang, which is the same thing but a spicy version of it. Look the dish up. It looks weird. There are some YouTube videos of it as well of foreigner trying it. Edit. Raw crab is apparently not too gross sounding by the comments I get. I'd also like to share a Korean snack that I will never ever try. But a lot of people like it. Byeondaji, literally pupa, is a Korean street food made with silkworm pupae. It is usually sold from street vendors. The boiled or steamed snack food is served in paper cups with toothpick skewers. Canned byeondaji can also be found in grocery stores and convenience stores. From Wikipedia. Ate lutefisk at my friend's family's Christmas dinner in Norway. Tastes like hot spoiled fish jello. Edit. Even Norwegians know it's barely edible. That's why they eat it alongside a half pound of bacon infused peas and a dozen shots of aquavit. Natto. My girlfriend at the time was so excited to share truly Japanese foods with me and eventually we ended up at natto. She set it down in front of me and it looked like pinto beans covered in horse snot and topped with sliced green onion. I said it at Akimasu and down the hatch it went. And almost immediately came back up. She looked rather offended when I gagged. During a training, lab, in the military I had to do a key leader engagement with a role player. The role player offered my partner and I an egg pickled in beet vinegar. Not only did it taste absolutely terrible but it was super spicy. My partner was crying from the heat. I was washing mine down with their homemade moonshine they were offering us, apple cider vinegar. I finished mine right away and was so relieved until he sent his assistants to grab me another one. I ended up putting that one in my pants pocket. A chicken foot. I actually wanted to try it just so I could say I ate it. But my arm literally had trouble raising it to my mouth. A few nibbles was all I could manage. I went to my friend's friend's place where they had homemade Brazilian lasagna as they called it. I'm Italian. So I was interested in their take on it. It was lasagna noodles with what looked like really watered down Alfredo sauce. Low quality deli ham and canned corn. By far the most disgusting thing I ever ate. And I've eaten chicken heart, cow tongue, and haggis. I was gagging the entire time before I finally convinced my friend to throw it out for me. It's easy to say I'll stick to the traditional lasagna from now on. Husband's mom made a lemon pie. But it was a special recipe she learned from her friend where there was no sugar and the crust was made of saltine crackers. Don't even have words for how sour and salty it was. But you best believe I ate it as it was delicious. Turtle soup. Apparently it was cooked wrong and everybody was throwing it out. I didn't know and tried eating through it. It was horrible. A few Christmas ago my bro-in-law was in charge of the turkey. He carved and brought out a plate and left the carcass on the cutting board on the counter. I got up mid-meal to get more alcohol and the carcass was just dripping with blood and still covered in raw meat. I guess he had picked out the best pieces and put them on the plate. That bird needed another 2 hours for sure. People ended up leaving early feeling ill. Fast forward to 2 AM and my husband has decided to puke. Naked. In our only bathroom. This is when I realized why people tell you to sit and puke in a garbage can when you have food poisoning or the flu. I never did get all the shit off that wall. But considering that apartment had the worst landlord ever I didn't feel too bad. We moved a week later anyhow. Not so bad as some of the others. But I once was visiting family in Scotland with my grandparents. At the time, age 12 or so. I was a fairly picky eater. So when we went over for dinner, they had lamb for everyone else and peanut butter sandwiches for me. Not wanting to appear rude. And wanting to seem adventurous. I decided to go for the lamb. Unfortunately, the first few bites made it clear to me that lamb was not a good fit for my tastes. Nevertheless, I followed the classic mantra of improvise, adapt, overcome. Looking around the table, I spotted a convenient pitcher of water and hatched a plan. I cut off a suitably small bit of lamb and placed it in my mouth. I would then thoughtfully pretend to chew and swallow. Then casually grab a sip of water. In reality, I was gumming the lamb. Then swallowing it whole. Of course. By the end of the meal, I'd gone through 3 cups of water, nearly half the pitcher. Nevertheless, my ruse apparently worked because when I revealed my scheme several days later, my grandparents seemed suitably surprised. My ex-sister-in-law's spinach casserole. My daughter puked it up into their heat vent and I had to clean it out. My husband's grandma made us a miso soup that was almost black from teriyaki and soy sauce in it. All of the vegetables in it were slimy and overcooked. It so barely resembled miso that the next day I made some regular miso for myself and she was offended that I didn't eat the perfectly good leftovers. I was all confused until my husband whispered to me that she thought the abomination she served us was miso soup. Was visiting Guatemala, and this old lady invited us to dinner. In this country, it's extremely rude to not eat what was placed before you. Unfortunately, this lady served us a vegetable soup with some meat in it that tasted like chicken broth from hell. She didn't eat with us, as she was being polite or something. She didn't even talk to us during the dinner. We took a taste and nearly wanted to puke. However, due to the country customs, we decided to eat it. We barely could get through it. We ate about 3/4 of it and then mentioned we were just full. We both retched later on that night. It was so nasty. Ran into the lady later in the week walking down the street, and she apologized to us. Apparently the chicken was rotten and she only took 1 bite. She then chastised us for not telling her. Sometimes it's frustrating not knowing all the ins and outs of different customs. I came home from school one day and was hungry and told my mother that, and she told me there was blueberry muffins. So I took one, and when I took a bite it was the driest, most flavorless thing I've ever eaten. So as to not upset my mother, I ate it, and when I came back my mom was laughing and I asked what was funny and she told me they were a friend of hers muffins and my brother had spit them out when he tried it. So basically I got pranked by my mom. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for daily awesome videos. Feel free to like the video if you love it, and comment down below for suggestions on the next video.